Hello, sweet folks. I said that because I didn't know which one I'm going to read first, but I think I'll go with Little Women. Okie dokie. We are at 37, called New Impressions. Isn't that pretty? I think this came in a darn good yarn thing. And I'm not sure if it's a bookmark or not. Looks like it's got a hole there to put something in. But it's surely not a stitch marker. It's pretty heavy, so I'm using it as a bookmark. And yes, I still have my beautiful little owl one somewhere here. I've got so much stuff around me. It's getting crazy. New Impressions. Y'all know I'm feeling kind of ick because I got off my live a little early, so I went over to Tracy's live for just a little bit, and now here I am, but I want to go ahead and get everything done, as much as I can done, so then I can just go sit and put my feet up and just go. Okay, New Impressions, I said that. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, all the fashionable world at Nice may be seen on the Promenade des Anglais, a charming place, for the wide walk bordered with palms, flowers, and tropical shrubs is bounded on one side by the sea and on the other by the Grand Drive. Sounds beautiful. Lined with hotels and villas, while beyond lie orange orchards and the hills. Many nations are represented, many languages spoken, many costumes worn, and on a sunny day, the spectacle is as gay and brilliant as a carnival. Sounds like a parade almost, too. Haughty English, lively French, sober Germans, handsome Spaniards, ugly Russians. That ain't very nice. Meek Jews, free and easy Americans, all drive, sit, or saunter here, chatting over the news and criticizing the latest celebrity who has arrived. Ristori or Dickens, Victor Emmanuel or the Queen of the Sandwich Islands. The equipages are as varied as the company and attract as much attention, especially the low basket barouches in which ladies drive themselves. Probably didn't say that right. With a pair of dashing ponies, gay nets to keep their voluminous flounces from overflowing the diminutive vehicles, and little grooms on the perch behind. Along the walk on Christmas Day, a tall young man walked slowly with his hands behind him and a somewhat absent expression of countenance. He looked like an Italian, was dressed like an Englishman, and had the independent air of an American, a combination which caused sundry pairs of feminine eyes to look approvingly after him, and sundry dandies in black velvet suits, with rose-colored neckties, buff gloves, and orange flowers in their buttonholes, to shrug their shoulders and then envy him his inches. There were plenty of pretty faces to admire, but the young man took little notice of them, except to glance now and then at some blonde girl or lady in blue. Presently he strolled out of the promenade and stood a moment at the crossing, as if undecided whether to go and listen to the band in the Jardin Public or to wander along the beach toward Castle Hill. The quick trot of ponies' feet made him look up, as one of the little carriages containing a single lady came rapidly down the street. The lady was young, blonde, and dressed in blue. He stared a minute, then his whole face woke up, and waving his hat like a boy, he hurried forward to meet her. "Oh, Laurie! It's Laurie. Is it really you? I thought you'd never come," cried Amy, dropping the reins and holding out both hands, to the great scandalization of a French mamma, who hastened her daughter's steps, lest she should be demoralized by beholding the free manners of these mad English. I was detained by the way, but I promised to spend Christmas with you, and here I am. How's your grandfather, and when did you come? Where are you staying? Very well. Last night at the Chevan. I called at your hotel, but you were all out. Mon Dieu, I have so much to say and don't know where to begin. Getting in and we can talk at our ease. I was going for a drive and longing for company. Flo's saving up for tonight. What happens tonight then? A ball? A Christmas party at our hotel. There are many Americans there and they give it in honor of the day. You'll go with us, of course. Aunt will be charmed. Thank you. Where now? Asked Laurie, leaning back with his and folding his arms, a proceeding which suited Amy, who preferred to drive, for her parasol whip and blue reins over the white pony's backs afforded her infinite satisfaction. I'm going to the banker's first for letters, and then to Castle Hill. The view is so lovely, and I like to feed the peacocks. Have you ever been there? Often, years ago, but I don't mind having a look at it. Now, tell me all about yourself. The last I heard of you, your grandfather wrote that he expected you from Berlin. Yes, I spent a month there and then joined him in Paris, where he has settled for the winter. He has friends there and finds plenty to amuse him. So I go and come, and we get on capitally. That's a sociable arrangement, said Amy, missing something in Laurie's manner, though she couldn't tell what. Why, you see, he hates to travel, and I hate to keep still, so we each suit ourselves, and there's no trouble. I'm often with him, and he enjoys my adventures, while I like to feel that someone is glad to see me when I get back from my wanderings. Dirty old hole, isn't it? He added with a look of disgust as they drove along the boulevard to the Place Napoleon in the old city. The dirt is picturesque, so I don't mind. The river and hills are delicious, and those glimpses of the narrow cross streets are my delight. Now we shall have to wait for that procession to pass. It's going to the church of St. John. While Laurie listlessly watched the procession of priests under their canopies, white-veiled nuns bearing lighted tapers, and some brotherhood in blue, chanting as they walked, Amy watched him and felt a new sort of shyness steal over her, for he was changed, and she couldn't find the merry-faced boy she left. In the moody-looking man beside her, he was handsomer than ever, and greatly improved, she thought. But now that the flush of pleasure at meeting her was over, he looked tired and spiritless. Not sick, nor exactly unhappy, but older and graver than a year or two of prosperous life should have made him. She couldn't understand it and did not venture to ask questions, so she shook her head and touched up her ponies as the procession wound away across the arches of the Paglioni Bridge and vanished in the church. Que pensez-vous? Probably screwed that up, she said, airing her French, which had improved in quantity, if not quality, since she came abroad. That mademoiselle has made good use of her time, and the result is charming, replied Laurie, bowing with his hand on his heart and an admiring look. She blushed with pleasure, but somehow the compliment did not satisfy her, like the blunt praises he used to give her at home when he promenaded around her on festival occasions and told her she was altogether jolly, with a hearty smile and an approving pat on the head. She didn't like the new tone, for though not blasé, it sounded indifferent in spite of the look. If that's the way he's going to grow up, I wish he'd stay a boy, she thought, with a curious sense of disappointment and discomfort, trying meantime to seem quite easy and gay. At Avigdor's, she found the precious home letters, and giving the reins to Laurie, read them luxuriously as they wound up the shady road between green hedges where tea roses bloomed as freshly as in June. Beth is very poorly, Mother says. I often think I ought to go home, but they all say stay, so I do. For I shall never have another chance like this, said Amy, looking sober over one page. I think you're right. There you could do nothing at home, and it's a great comfort to them to know that you are well and happy and enjoying so much, my dear. He drew a little nearer and looked more like his old self as he said that, and the fear that sometimes weighed on Amy's heart was lightened. For the look, the act, and the brotherly "my dear" seemed to assure her that if any trouble did come, she would not be alone in a strange land. Presently she laughed and showed him a small sketch of Jo in her scribbling suit with the bow rampantly erect upon her cap, and issuing from her mouth the words, "Genius burns." Laurie smiled, took it, put it in his vest pocket to keep it from blowing away, and listened with interest to the lively letter Amy read him. "This will be a regularly Merry Christmas to me, with presents in the morning, you and letters in the afternoon, and a party at night," said Amy as they alighted among the ruins of the old fort. And a flock of splendid peacocks came trooping about them, tamely waiting to be fed, while Amy stood laughing on the bank above as she scattered crumbs to the brilliant birds. Laurie looked at her as she looked at him with a natural curiosity to see what changes time and absence had wrought. He found nothing to perplex or disappoint, much to admire and approve, for overlooking a few little affections of speech and manner, she was as sprightly and graceful as ever. And with the addition of that indescribable something in dress and bearing which we call elegance. Always mature for her age, she had gained a certain aplomb in both carriage and conversations, which made her even more of a woman of the world than she was. But her old petulance now and then showed itself. Her strong will still held its own, and her nature and her native frankness was unspoiled by foreign polish. Laurie did not read all this while he watched her feed the peacocks, but he saw enough to satisfy and interest him, and carried away a pretty little picture of a bright-faced girl standing in the sunshine, which brought out the soft hue of her dress, the fresh color of her cheeks, the golden gloss of her hair, and made her a prominent figure in the pleasant scene. As they came up onto the stone plateau that crowns the hill, Amy waved her hand as if welcoming him to her favorite haunt, and said, pointing here and there, "Do you remember the cathedral and the Corso, the fishermen dragging their nets in the bay, and the lovely road to Villa Franca, Schubert's tower just below, and best of all, that speck far out to sea, which they say is Corsica?" "I remember. It's not much changed," he answered without enthusiasm. "What Jo would give for a sight of that famous speck," said Amy, feeling in good spirits and anxious to see him also. Woo, y'all. I think I may stop there. I may come back to it later tonight. But if not, we'll see you tomorrow. Love you all. Be sweet, don't be ugly. Bye-bye.